Hey everyone. So let me get this loaded up. I normally have at least 5 minutes on this countdown, and I've just done 30 seconds because I know there's been people saying, can you get rid of the counter some way? And if we get rid of the counter, the problem with that is the chat can't be played back afterwards. And there was another issue. Oh, and the syncing issues. So I'm just going to do a 30-second countdown in future, and hopefully that won't make too much of a difference. I know a lot of people like the reminder, so we put the countdown earlier on so that people get a notice and then they can make a brew and then come on afterwards. But yeah, that's basically why we did it like that. I'm going to go through everybody who is in the chat. Can't see you, Sam. So Slippy Tiger. Well, there's probably another error then. Right, anyway. What's going on? I don't know. Anyway, I'll go through the chat. I'm going to see who's in the chat today. We're going to be talking quite a bit about bases because there's been a lot of people on the Facebook group and on the forum, and there's been a few other messages in the past talking a lot about bases and how much of an impact they make on your models and on your army in general. And it's something that I absolutely love doing is coming up with bases, and it's a bit sad really, but I love doing bases almost as much as the actual model, and I think I put too much time into thinking about the bases, and I think it is something that's worth doing. If anyone else can let me know if this is actually working, if you can hear me, and then I'll continue. Although, hold on, let me just check. Might be able to check on my side. It says my mic's on. You can see my ugly mug. Nothing's different as far as I can tell. There have been issues with it's just the title card. Refresh, maybe. Yeah, I'll type it in, check this out. Refresh, question mark. Right, what a horrendous start to the show. So we'll see who's in. We've got 17 people who have come in, and I know there may be some more, maybe less, after you decide you don't want to hear about bases for the rest of the show. Al Kirkham is at the top. Welcome, Al. I'm glad you made it. Finally got back to a live chat. We've got the wonderful Patrick Metzger. Can't even say his name right. Welcome, Patrick. We have Big Rich. I'll be right back in a few. See, everyone needs time to make that brew and then come back, including me. I have only got some juice, some squash. Patrick's been doing garden work, and I know he doesn't like doing garden work. Al's just got back from picking up the Ideneth Deepkin, and they're amazing. Tom sent me okay, so I got an Arcanaut, what is it called, a Gunhauler, Grundstock Gunhauler I think it's called. Anyway, so I need 3 of those in total and 1 frigate and the Orlok gang to finish the 2,000 points. I think I still need another box of Orloks. I need another one of those scenery ships, but anyway, the point is Tom sent us just randomly, he sent me a Gunhauler and he sent me the Orlok gang. So that's the majority of the 2,000 points. And then Phil went through all of his Carriage on Overlords and managed to make like 2,500, 3,000 points with what he had. And he still had another Gunhauler and another frigate spare. So he gave me those. And so literally all I need to pick up now is a Gunhauler, the character from the Necromunda set, which I'm hoping is going to be available at Warhammer Fest on Sunday. Not this Sunday, next Sunday. And another box of Orloks to do the crew, because I think each of those gun haulers have got like 2 crew in them, so I've got to do a bit of converting in there. Sound and vision 5 out of 5. Okay, so it is working then. Bases, all your bases are belong to us indeed. And also, I was actually making a point about that, and Tom also gave Phil 2 of the new Ideneth Deepkin kits. It's the Accountant of the Sea, the one with the squid, and the Achillean King model. Volturnus, off the top of my head. Vol something or other, Voltron. I don't know his name. So Phil has officially started the Ideneth Deepkin army thanks to Tom. Alright. We have Big Mac Dan Scullin, welcome Big Mac. And Simon Key, Thor Delimited Caladai. We've got Skegatron, we've got Graham Rigg. We've got Dr. Octopus. Love that name. I don't think I'll ever get over that name. All is dust. Checking in. We'll be back in 10-ish watching another video. No problem. Slippy Tiger. We've got Kablams. Not seen Kablams in a while. I hope you're well. Ian Stanford. Johnsonator. My ears have recovered. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. The ears have recovered from the Tuesday bat rep. For anyone who watched that, we still haven't got the sound right. So when I like scream and everyone can hear salt pouring from me, basically it's pretty harsh on the ears. And Rachel was evil. I mean, we had a chat afterwards and she agreed that she was pretty evil, but it doesn't matter. It was a good game. I enjoyed it. Skegatron, it took me ages to decide on how to do Arkan. The black space had the models finished, but wanted something to add to it and not just black. Yeah, and there's tons you can do with the death models. One that you see quite a bit is the scenery kits, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But using the Garden of Moor, I think it was called, that Games Workshop used to sell, breaking it down into bits and using those on the bases of your death army. In particular, the bigger models like Arkan and Nagash, it looks really good. And I know Steve and Mark Wilson, they have done exactly that on their death armies. Red Cuffs is here as well. Welcome, Red Cuffs. And my brew is Estella. Okay, we've gone through the chat. All right, we'll see. Let's get up, first of all. There we go, it's working. Right, so one of the things that always tends to crop up is how important are bases? How important are the bases? And we're going to go straight into this. So I'm going to talk for a little bit, probably a lot, and then any questions I'll go through as well. So I'm going to just highlight where I'm up to. If anybody's got any questions or suggestions or things that they think about bases, please put it in the chat and I'll go through as much as possible. Put the @Wargamer online and then it might work a little bit easier. So when you've got a bog standard model, when you painted something and you stick it on a base, you might have painted the model really well. If you stick it on a boring old base, typically you used to see goblin green bases. So it was a goblin green coloured base rim with some flock on the top of it. And it looked quite, boring. Although it was quite nostalgic. But you could paint the model as nicely as you liked. And if you put it on a boring base, it didn't look as good. If you put a model on a really nice looking base, even if you do a standard paint job, if you do a base paint wash and maybe one highlight, it's not necessarily the greatest paint job. Stick it on a decent base enhances the model massively just by putting it on a nice base. So I personally think that the two things that I would say you should focus on to improve things with the least amount of effort, or it could be the least amount of effort, are faces and bases. So they're the two things. When you're painting models, focus on painting the model as efficiently as you can, but do an extra bit of work on the face. Likewise with the base. Make a little bit of effort to do something different or make something themed throughout the entire army using the bases as a way to do that. I might have to zoom in a little bit for this actually. The only problem with summer is everyone's outside. So it's loud outside. Right. So this base, I'm going to go through some examples. These are just the ones I've managed to pull out of the wardrobe of shame before I went live. So I've done so many different bases in the past, different themes, different styles, made from all sorts of things. We're going to go through some materials that I use, what places you can actually go to buy the bases to make your models look better, the pros and the cons of them as well, because there are benefits to using your own custom made bases to ones that you can buy on the internet. Now, this was made from the scenery set. So if you go through Games Workshop's website, we'll have a look in a little bit. The 40k you'll be able to buy like buildings, and they're kind of corner shaped buildings, and these are all leftover pieces. And this was for the custodian army initially, but I ended up using it on the Grey Knight army. Now these are just bits of that terrain. Why is that a little bit, I don't know, it's blurry, a bit weird. Anyway, these were bits of that terrain, and you can see all I've done is got some clippers and twisted the buildings off at different angles and snapped them off and stuck them on bases. And what I've done with this, for bases and scenery, your best thing to use is hot glue. So if you were using super glue or plastic glue and sticking this to a base, it would take sometimes ages to glue it. It wouldn't permanently be stuck in place. Hot glue allows you to basically stick it to the base. It doesn't matter if this flexes at all, because it will stay on there. The hot glue flexes with the stuff that's on top of it, but it's super solid. Once the hot glue's dried, you fill the rest of it with sand. You put some, like, these are, like paintbrush covers to cover the bristles. All that is they've been cut off and stuck into the side of there as little pipes that are sticking out. This one is really basic. It's literally just a bit of that building stuck to a base with some sand put around the outside of it. So these are not fancy. There's just a bit of plastic stuck to a base. Ooh, there's a hair. It's one of my hairs for a change. Stuck to a base and then painted. And this, I've done so many different tutorials on painting stuff as well. So, and we'll have a look at that in a little bit again. So that's one of the types of bases, using a simple scenery kit, chopped up and stuck to a base. And they were leftovers from a project that we did. Now, the other version of bases, which I find the bare minimum that you can do, which is really simple, is hot glue again and cork. And this has just been stuck to the base. You can see how simple that is, with sand filling the rest of it. Oh my god, there's so many dog hairs, rabbit hairs and Sam hairs everywhere. Right, look how basic that is. But it's much better than just having some basic sand and that's it. In my opinion anyway, I think adding some of this depth to the base definitely makes the models look better on them. And once this has been done, I spray them with a grey primer, dry brush it twice, you can see it's quite rough, and then cover it in a AK Interactive wash, Summer Curse Earth. It's the best wash you can ever pick up. And then once you've covered it in that, you use White Spirit to remove the majority of it from the cork. And you can see it's just tinted it with like a brownish green colour. And that's the first step before I do anything else. And then you can go further than that. You can add tufts, you can add flock, you can add heads, you can add anything to the base. But as a minimum, I would do that for most of my army's bases. And that's what I've used for my Beastmen army, and all I did was add static grass to it, and that was it. We've got another one here. So this is one that I used for the Emperor model that I converted. There is a video on the website with this, I think. And I'm sure I did a basing tutorial on how I actually did this. But this is the bottom of a vehicle, some form of Space Marine vehicle, with cork added to it. Some pipes and wires coming out the side of it to make it look a little bit like it's destroyed. Some wires here coming out of a pipe. And just some random bits of plastic with some holes drilled into it. Nothing too difficult to actually replicate. Some bits of mesh here, broken down there. And then it's just been dry brushed and then washed with Summer Curse Earth, with some pigment added. And I don't really like pigment, but it's a quick way of adding some form of colour to a base. So another one. Now, I've got one here. This is what they generally look like before I start priming them. So you can see it's just a bit of that building, a bit of the scenery, stuck into the bottom of a base using hot glue again to make it sturdy. Some cork, a little bit of sand and a little bit of slate. And you can see it's piled up. It looks quite nice. Once that's been sprayed and dry brushed, it will look really nice, and you can put anything on there. What else? Oh, here we go. Then we've got these. Now, I built these ages ago. This was when Age of Sigmar was actually just starting, and I wanted all of my bases to match. So all I did with these was I bought some bricks. We'll go through materials in a little bit. So these are bricks that you can pick up on eBay. They're like £5 or £6 for a huge bag. I think Green Stuff World might even sell them. And I just laid them all and did like a not a irregular pattern, you know, followed roughly to make them look like they've been laid at some point by somebody who knows what they're doing, obviously not me. And then I've used very thin sand in the gaps so that it's got a little bit of texture in there as well. And I made a whole range of bases, and then what I did was I just took these to Phil, and Phil cast them, and I had loads of different versions. So some of the problems, well, okay, so there's pros and cons of buying bases from companies. Now, one of the benefits is you don't have to do all of the work. You can literally buy the bases that you like the look of. You can buy the number you want, and they arrive, and you literally just paint them, stick your models to them, and you're good. The downside with those sort of bases is that if I was to cast these bases up, say, and I wanted 50 bases, I'm going to get the same base sometimes like 5 or 6 or 7 times, and they get a little bit boring on bases when you've got the same ones repeated over and over again. So what I like to do, or even though these have been duplicated, and I've got a bag here, so you see they're not all the same, and there's a few in there, a few different variations, but they're similar enough but different so that they look different when you use them on an entire army. Anything with like, I don't know, if we use this base for example, if I had that and I had that cast and made 10 times. Obviously I wouldn't, because it's a GW part on there, unless it was for myself. But if I had that cast and I had 10 models with the same piece sticking out of the same bit of cork, it would look a little bit weird. Whereas having 100 models on bases like this would look fine. But it saves you having to do this bricklaying every single time you wanted to do some of your models. So once they've been done like that, you can cast them. And you know, there's plenty of videos on the internet showing you how to cast your own kits and bases and things like that. But Phil did those for me, and we've done some in the past, and we are tempted to do some more in the future, design some bases. I won't go into that too much, but the benefit of creating your own is that you can make a good mixture of style of bases, and they don't look the same across your entire army, or at least they don't look like you've used the same. Someone's mowing the lawn. I suppose it is somewhere they're allowed to do that. Oh, and I've actually got, so as an example, here's one I made earlier. So these have been now cast, and this isn't perfect. This is Phil just having a dabble at casting. So you can see some of these have been broken off. There's some tiny little holes on here, but most of them are absolutely perfect. I just see Ian saying, follow the yellow brick road. It is indeed. So these have been cast up. They've got some really nice texture on them. All they need doing after that is cleaning, spraying, and then dry brushing, and they're really good to go. And I've used these on a bunch of fantasy models in the past anyway. They look perfect, and you see I've still got a big box worth of these. So I can use those, or I can use them on individual models or an army, whatever I feel like doing. And I've got the masters, which I've made here. So I could always recast them if I wanted to and change them up a little bit. So they look good. What else have we got? Right, so the other option, well, before we go into materials and stuff like that, I don't even know where these are from. Disappeared. Now, I've got tons of little resin bases from all sorts of companies, and the problem I have with like this sort of thing, it's not too bad on this, but you've got, like I said, the same cog popping up on all of the models. You need to know how many you're going to use. That's the only problem, isn't it? I don't know. They're nice though. I mean, the easy side of buying them is that you literally just buy them, they arrive, you don't have to faff around with them, you just paint them and that's it. The other benefit, the other downside to casting your own bases, or buying them when they've been cast up, is that for me in particular, when I start to pin my models to these bases, it's more work having to drill through an entire resin base to pin the model in place than it is to make my own like this on a GW base, and then just drill straight through the sand to the bottom and then stick the model to it. Making my own bases is easier than using these resin bases, just purely for the fact that I pin every single one of my models. So that also comes into consideration when it comes to me deciding whether I'm going to get some of these sort of bases or make my own. Tom saying, WGO range of basing products in the pipeline. Potentially, yes, Tom. We've got a lot of things we've wanted to do, and bases may be one of them. We've just got to look into a lot of what we need to do, but we've got loads of ideas, loads of designs, and we can get on with it, but we want to keep on top of battle reports and everything else that we do. Right, another thing which is invaluable. Now I've had this box for, I've got 2 boxes of these. This is just resin bits from the Games Workshop basing kits, and these are brilliant for standard sort of characters, but they don't work as well for a whole army because they're quite pricey. You know, if you were to put every single model on one of these resin bases, it can add up quite a bit. Even these little ones here, they're little bits that you can put across your army, but it's expensive using the Games Workshop resin parts. So I've always been collecting them and just putting them in one box, and then one day I say to myself I'm going to use it. I'm more likely going to do a special character, or for a painting project or something, just do a nice base, use this as the core, and then stick a model on the top of it. I think these are really good for that sort of thing, but as an army I think they're too expensive to do on a larger scale. What are these? Some more of the old fantasy basing kits there, look. So designed for square bases. Might not need that as much anymore. Got all sorts of rubbish in here. There you go, an old chaos warped ground thing. So Games Workshop sell nice bits of resin, and they're good to stick in here and there. Now, other places, we've got Green Stuff World. Now, these sent me these ages ago, actually. We've got like Celtic Ruins and Aztec Ruins. Now, when it comes to casting these, if you were to do your own range of bases that you were only going to use for yourself, I wouldn't say there's a problem with building your own bases and then casting them up. So if you wanted to use one set of these from Green Stuff World and make your own set of bases and then cast them again and again, like if you wanted to do a base with those two side by side, then just cast them up for yourself, you know, as long as you're not selling them and it's for your own personal use. These are brilliant, and they're not that expensive if you're buying a couple of packs to design a bunch of masters and then make your own. But otherwise, I would again use these for character pieces or just put randomly across boards for scenery and things like that. But they're nicely detailed. I really do like this Celtic Ruin one with all of the faces and broken down bits. Again, these are going to be used for individual characters. We've got the same with the Aztec ones. They were potentially going to be used on the Seraphon, Rachel Seraphon, and I think we used some of them on their bases. The round ones from Startled Hedgehog, I think he's called on eBay. Ah, fair enough. Fair enough. So what are these? I don't even know what they're from. Got 2 boxes of resin bits. Oh, and then we've got a bag of slate. Okay, exciting times. Right. So that's all of the products. The size does matter. Yes, it does indeed. Inspirational Mini. I'm going to quickly just see who's in here. And I put a reminder on the show for it to be advertised 12 hours ago, and I don't think it seems to have worked. I don't know whether it's the fact that I've not turned it on for 10 minutes or I've not left it till we go live, but something's going on with YouTube anyway. I now have an eye permanently on the ground to find interesting stones, yeah, and stuff for your bases, and we'll have a look. I mean, that's exactly what I'm going to go through in a minute. Look, did this a few weeks ago in preparation for this new army. We have Big Rich saying, hey, Super Tiger, my GW is having a faces and bases theme for their painting comp. Well, there you go. They're the 2 most important things when you come to wargaming, in my opinion. Get those right and it doesn't matter about the rest. Devon Hoff Felix, welcome, Devon. Sem King, hey Sam, how's it going? It's going brilliantly. We're going to do Airsoft tomorrow. I know I've said this a couple of times, but me, Matt Pink, and Mark Wilson, and my brother, my girlfriend's boyfriend, and another couple of people, I think, we're all going to go and play Airsoft. I'm going to get shot to bits because I'm rubbish at that sort of thing, and I'm not really that fit. So I'm probably going to die within 1 round, and then I'll probably have the rest of the day to recover. And we're going to be there at 8 o'clock. So we'll be getting up at 5:30, 6 o'clock to go to that tomorrow. So I'm really looking forward to that. Not wargaming related though, just shooting things. Johnny Rockstar, those are the resin bases I use. That's awesome. Orc Boys, welcome. Big Rich, Sam, you use milliput. Yes, you can use... I mean, one of the things I'll go through in a minute is the rollers from Green Stuff World, because they're brilliant for making your own bases, especially on the cheaper side, using milliput and clay rather than using green stuff and more expensive products. Tom Wilson loves the Green Stuff World products. They are brilliant. I need to get... What was it I needed to pick up? They've got like a new skull flooring thing that you can basically snap off and place around, so you can put it on the side of tanks, on floors, and for the swamp bases I was tempted to do like full piles of bones with like sand and things over the top of it. There was another thing from Green Stuff World that I know I needed to pick up, at least 2 more things. There was like cogs and bits anyway, I can't remember what else the other one was. Derpimus Maximus, evening folks, my sister brought my niece and nephew to visit and broke my toilet. Fun Saturday. I don't know how they broke it, Derpimus, but I hope it gets sorted soon, because I only know too well the bane of plumbing issues. Else Nation, welcome Else Nation, I hope you're doing well. Dunny Woods as well. Here we go, everyone's in now. Jim Wilson, hey guys, hope I haven't missed too much. Not really, I'm just showing some bases and things like that. There we go. Red Cuffs, regarding recast, now that Forge would have stopped making Elysians, is it okay for me to sell all the fake Chinese recast Elysians that I have? I don't know, the whole Chinese recast and Russian recast thing is a whole different ball game that I probably will never go into, to be honest. Other than the fact that people can do what they want. I personally think if you support Forge and you like what they do, then you buy it from them. That's my personal opinion, and I know that there's a lot more that goes into designing and creating and advertising and researching all of the products that Games Workshop and Forge World and all the other miniature companies in the world do. And I personally don't agree with the fact that other companies out there can literally just copy them and sell them and profit from it with cutting out all of the work at the beginning. So on a business side of things, I think it's not that great. I don't agree with China or Russian recasting companies. On the flip side, I know why people do it. You know, it's not a cheap hobby anyway, and it's not cheap when you've got Forge World and all the other kits that are coming out, and the models are so nice that some people think they just want to have them anyway. If you can't afford the Forge World and it's just cheaper to buy them elsewhere, then you can easily see why people go down the route of the recast stuff. And I think, you know, it's down to personal choice, and there's all sorts of rules and regulations and moral issues, but at the end of the day, you do what you want, don't you? And I can't tell one person to do one thing and expect them to do it. I personally will buy from Forge World. It's the same with buying from shops. You know, you've got independent retailers which sell cheaper than Games Workshop. I still like to support local stores. If you've got a good Games Workshop, then I think it's important to keep that manager and that community in place by supporting them. And I know it all goes to the big, you know, Games Workshop overlord at the top anyway, and they make more money on independent stores than they do their own. But if you've got a good store and you want to support it, then it sometimes is worth paying the extra to support them and keep them going. Peter Higgins, something is always going on with YouTube. Who knows what's happening? Yeah, it's been a bit rubbish really on members, subscribers, sharing. Everything seems to be going up and down at the minute. We've just been watching all of our, what is it called? Oh, we've got all our stats and figures and things. And it's been some mad stuff, and we've been watching quite a lot of people complain and put up complaints about stuff that's going on with members, subscribers just being deleted. And we have bursts where we go up 50, we lose 70, then we go up another 90, and it's like up and down and up and down. You can't keep track of it anymore. We leave it and then look a week or two later and see where we're at. Inspirational Mini. I'm building my own undead flying ship. Funny you suggested the same thing on your video, but for me it's a scratch build for a Mortis engine. That's perfect. Massive if you're going to be using the same base as I've used. It's gone at the minute, but I will do an update on it soon. Monday, Tuesday I'm going to be building the Caradrons again, and at the start of every week I'm going to spend 2 days building that army up ready for painting. Dunny Woods, I haven't updated my Caradron for Chronicles because I've jumped back to Seraphon, currently painting 5 Saurus Guard, 10 Skinks and a Slan for a small tournament. Wish I had some more of those, some of those Aztec Ruins. They're great. The roller I'll show you in a minute is worth picking up just to do a really quick basing batch. One thing we will go through Chronicles, I'm aiming to do Wednesday. I don't know whether it's going to be just me or whether it's going to be me and Phil. Phil's looking at doing a battle report on Twitch live on Wednesday. So he might... To be fair, we may end up just doing the 2 shows at the same time. So most people will probably go and watch the Twitch battle report because it'll be more entertaining. But I may do a Wargaming Online Chronicles, and we'll just have a look through the forum on Wednesday. So if anybody is doing the Chronicles, update all of your posts in time, and I'll hopefully try and open as many of those posts as possible and look through them. Johnny Rockstar, I'm good today removing the Black Shields decal sheet from Forge World, as that's what I use for my Marines. The Warp Hunters. That's a shame. Might be worth stocking up ASAP. Frank's here. Welcome, Frank Storm. Hope you're well. Derfamus, it's a top of cistern button. It's a flush, and the mechanism came apart when she tried to retrieve the bit. She dislodged the fill valve, so I had to shut the mains off while I dug out a screwdriver. Yeah, we had a problem with the same thing. Mine was literally just changing the seal, and then I realised it wasn't the seal that was the big issue. It was the ball cock that was in there that was the bigger problem. And when it got switched over, I had no silicon to fix it. So there was water everywhere. And Pink and me were just looking at it like, well, we can't do any sort of DIY or fixing or anything. We're both as bad as each other. What's the point of the hobby? If you can have it all for cheap, there would be no happiness to wait till you can get something and then unboxing it. Exactly. The high prices keep the riffraff out. No idea how I got in though. I have done corn symbol out of Cork sheet for Bloodthirster model. That's a really good idea as well. Cork is amazing. I think the 2 things that people need to use if they've never used it in this hobby is cork and a hot glue gun, especially for basing and scenery pieces. Cork and hot glue are literally the 2 things that I will never run out of because I buy enough of it to keep it. One thing I need from people is if you... Alright, I have scoured the internet for the Holy Grail, or the Holy Grail in my case, which is cork that's got a snap to it. So I've bought laminated cork, I've bought treated cork, I've bought every sort of cork that I can see on Amazon. I've looked at cork websites. Now I'm looking, see this cork, how much softer this is. I don't want soft cork. What I want is this stuff. And now this is much stronger. You can see it barely bends. This stuff, even if, look at this. Ugh. It's got too much flex in it. This stuff is the hard cork. If anybody knows where to get this from, in that thick, I mean, they're both the same thickness. It's like 4 or 5 millimeters in thickness. What this harder stuff is called, because it looks like it's laminated on one side, but I bought some and it's brilliant. And this is the last piece of this cork that I've got. And then I've got like 9 tiles of this horrible bendy flexible stuff. So this is the Holy Grail. And it's my tiny little piece that I have left, which is a massive, massive shame. Anyway, that was off topic. Well, on topic actually. Inspirational Mini, sending in some pictures on Facebook. I don't use the new kit. I started before and I enjoy this scratch build from nothing. I'll take a look on Facebook, but it's not loaded up. And I don't know what is actually... Hold on. Warhammer Fest as well, because that's just popped up. We are going to Warhammer Fest. We're going on the Sunday, so if anybody wants to say hello or whatever, we'll be there at Coventry on the Sunday. It'd be good to catch up with a few people. Oh, there's some good stuff on the Wargamer Online community today. Just looking through. We will have a look at there, actually. You know what? We'll have a look on the Facebook page before we go off tonight. Derpamus, to be honest, the real irritation is what was installed is a slim profile system, and actually working in the small space is awkward. There. We're going more onto toilet speak now. Which I needed about 4 weeks ago. John Snater, I have to say, I mostly buy from online as it's cheaper, obviously. However, sometimes if I've got the extra money like today, I'll go to my local GW and buy a few bits to support them. And again, it's fair enough. You know, it's not a cheap hobby. If you can save 15, 20, 30%, it makes sense to buy it online in a cheaper bulk cost, bulk bundle buy thing or whatever. Well, you know, it is as and when you can afford stuff. Can't really do much else other than that. Big Rich, hey, going to pick up an item called Deathwatch Overkill for $130. That's Gene Stealer Cults and Deathwatch. I am tempted by Primaris Deathwatch. I'm so tempted. Ian's not going to Warhammer Fest, that's a shame. I really wanted to do Golden Demon this year, but I've had no time. I don't know how I can't paint one model to a decent standard. But next year, maybe. Have you tried putting the bendy cork in the oven? It could make it a little bit more rigid. I haven't, but I know I can buy the Holy Grail cork from somewhere because I had a big sheet of it and I have no idea where I got it from or which one I bought. And I just want to find it. I don't want to have to faff. I just want to buy the cork. Oh, there we go. It snapped eventually. But it breaks perfectly. That's the cork that I need. So on the topic of basing, got a gift of an old school style non-GW dwarf wizard, so in need of a little of inspiration for him. Fair enough. Got a gift of an old school style non-GW dwarf wizard. My name is Harry on Facebook. That's fine. We'll have a look on the Facebook page. Matthew Pink is here. Matthew, I hope you are ready to finish this live show, go to sleep, and then wake up early so we can go and shoot people tomorrow at Airsoft, not real life. Well, it is real life, but not with real guns. Right, let's get on with the show. So, we've looked at the sort of thing that you can make just by using bits of scenery, sticking it on a base, painting it with a bit of dry brushing, dead easy. We've had a brief look at some products you can buy from GW or wherever. Let's have a look at some of the places, just as... There we go, let's bring this up. So this is Secret Weapon Miniatures, so secretweaponminiatures.com. Now on here you can go on their basing section. Not sponsored, by the way. This is literally just me looking at basing bases that you can buy. And sometimes these are worth picking up if you don't want to go to the effort of doing your own masters and replicating these and casting them, because it is a pain. But you can just buy them. They're all done. You know, you can make that yourself. You can put some sand on a base with a bit of scenery. It's just whether you want to do it in bulk or whether you want to buy it. Personally, $6 for what? A single 50mm resin base. to me, I think that's a little bit expensive, but that's just my personal opinion. I would never pay $6 when I think I could put some sand and some bits of plastic on a base and get the same effect. There are some where I would think, yeah, okay, it's worth picking up those. Let's have a look at these, see if these are any better. Yeah, maybe those. Something that you can't create, I think they're the ones that are worth picking up. Let's see what there is. Blasted Wetlands. I wonder if that's a good idea for my swamps. Or at least an idea that I can steal for my own. I mean, look at that. That is basically some sand with a twig. And I've got some twigs next to me. $12 for 10 twigs and bases. Okay, maybe this isn't a good example. Corpse fields. Here we go. There's something you shouldn't be able to recreate. Okay, that's a little bit more work. If you're going to make those, that's a bit of green stuff in. You've got to have the corpses. There's a little bit more work that's gone into that. That is something that you would think, if you want a whole army based on corpse bases, then that's something you would go for. What else is there? Trench works. Even things like this, town square. They're not as easy to do for yourself. You've got to be a lot neater. Those sort of things look great. And having to make those yourself, especially if you're not casting them yourself, that's a massive pain to do that. So look at the trench bases. Same again with that. I mean, I'm going to do a tutorial on painting, building these sort of bases just using bits of wood, because you can make these, but it is a bit of work. So if you haven't got the time and you've got the money, then buying these are perfect. So that's one. Then the other one I quickly clicked on was Micro Art Studios. Now these are quite good again. So you got €5 for 5 bases. These are really nice. You know, they've got tons of detail on these. I'm a massive fan of the Micro Art Studio bases. You've got these pipes, you've got this grating. You could recreate this yourself using plasticard and all the different types of textured plasticard and brush protectors and things like that. But it's not like they've just used the same style pipe. They've used little smaller ones here with some bits off the side. They've used different styles of grating. There's more work gone into that. What else have we got? Even the wood bases, look. They've got little chests, they've got some skulls in there, they've got some branches, you've got some moss, as well as the planks which are all on there and arranged in various ways. There's a little bit more going off on these bases, and even a simple base coat and a wash and a dry brush has made them look really good. And you've got loads on here. Let's have a look at, I wonder if there's a swamp. No swamp. Let's have a look then at Possessed, see what that is. Oh, better not show Phil these. He's going to want 1,000 of them to go with his board. They're nice. You know, demon bases. Not Tyrannidy as much, but they're really nice. You know, they've been sculpted onto there with some rock and some sand. That sort of thing's well worth picking up. So that's another option. You buy the bases ready-made. Hopefully they've got all the base sizes that you need and you're good to go. And then you've got GW. So GW sell a bunch of products now. So if you want to make your own bases, and I personally think it's worth giving it a go, you can buy things like the Citadel Schools. And I've got a box of these to make for the swamp. You can cut these off. You can put them all over your bases. Same with the basing material collection here. It's got the school set, but it's also got the vines and the leaves. So these vines are quite nice. They're a bit more cartoony than the realistic vines, which I'm going to show you the materials in a moment. But yeah, they're quite nice. It's more to paint. That's the only other thing. These aren't going to be as quick as doing as if you just got some natural looking materials. What else we got? Yeah, these alien looking carnivorous plants and things as well. So GW do stuff. They're a bit more expensive. I say a bit, they're quite a lot more expensive. You're looking at £15 per box. So that's another option. The other thing is GW sell their own bases now as well. You know, everyone does them. Why not do them themselves? So 32mm Sector Imperialis bases. And you've got some nice designs on there. But they're in plastic rather than resin. I personally think plastic is a lot easier to work with. As I was saying about pinning your models, you can pin these straight to your bases and it's a lot less effort. So personally, if GW do plastic bases that I would use, that would be my first choice over any sort of resin base that you can buy. Okay, let's get rid of that. What have we got in the chat? What do we have in the chat? Sem King, you have one of your iron jaws on hand. Would love to see one from a little closer. I could, but I'm sitting in my pajamas. I basically had a shower, jumped into my pajamas, and if I stand up, you'll see my Mickey Mouse pajamas. I'll definitely get one close up next week if you want to watch the show next Saturday. I'll try and remember. Remind me next week what's going on. Well, Warhammer Fest the day after, so yes, I'll try and remember. Tom Wilson, I think I read somewhere they were redoing. Oh, okay, that's what will Joe do when you get your 10,000th subscriber? So we're doing a giveaway now. We've got what, 1, 2, 3 companies. I think there's three products at least that we're going to be giving away. It's generally going to be, I think mostly we're going to give away on the premium side of things. So anybody who's a premium member of the Wargame Online subscription service that we do on the website, they will all be entered into competitions to win the prizes when we hit 10k on YouTube. I imagine we'll do something on YouTube. We'll give away some stuff to viewers, and you don't need to pay anything. You don't need to be a premium member for that. It will just be subscribing for free. So literally, if you just subscribe to the channel, and we'll probably do a video that you'll have to comment on in order for us to pick somebody to win, you will win whatever prize we do. We've still got a lot of companies out there that may potentially send us some bits and pieces to do as giveaways. I know Osprey have got a load of books that they sent us. I just need to speak to them and see if they're happy for me to use them as giveaways, because there's some nice books in there that people might want to use. So we like to give back. We don't just, when people send us stuff, we don't just sit on it. If we think our subscribers and viewers would benefit and we're not going to use it, we'd rather give it to people who would. So that's the benefit of being subscribed. Every now and again, then you'll get bits back from us. And I imagine we'll do some form of show. I know we did the speak out thing for Rachel. That was kind of a fun show that we did, and I don't know if we're going to do another one of those anytime soon. We'll have to find out. Okay. Zultian Gaming saying hello from Denmark. Welcome. Thank you for joining. Pink saying 6:30. Yeah, 6:30 we're leaving yours. To wake up early and shoot people. Sam, 2018. Yeah, are you ready? Are you ready? I really like the bases from companies like this, but if you base a large number of models, you see the repeats a lot. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier, Pink, that sometimes making your own bases and getting them cast with things like this where you've got bricks and stuff on them, when you recreate them and you've got 100 of them, they look a lot nicer than having 10 or 20 of this base over and over again. So sometimes when you're making your own bases, it's a good idea to know that you might be replicating it and build them in a way where you don't have them all looking the same. The cobbles look amazing though. I'd definitely buy that. I'd buy those definitely, yeah. The cobblestone ones are quite nice. Bases like this are probably better suited to warband style games, Frostgrave, D&D and the like. Exactly, yeah, those bases are definitely better for that. Johnny Rockstar, you can buy sheets of cobblestone, embossed plastic sheets from my local model shop in Edinburgh. You can, and they're perfect for designing your own bases. You just cut it to size and stick it on bases. Really easy to do. Medic6666 is saying textured rolling pins from Green Stuff World and some air dry clay, and you are already halfway to your bases. Yeah, this is exactly what I've started doing. The air dry clay that I bought was DAS red clay, and I don't think I really did a very good job on it, to be honest. But I think personally I'm going to try and get something that you put in the oven just to give it a little bit more of a sturdier finish, so that it's not as soft. I know it just dry over 2 or 3 days, but it's still a little bit brittle. Whereas I think if I put it in the oven, if I find an oven hardening clay like Super Sculpty or something, or the equivalent in the UK, then I think that will work better. What's this website Sam's looking at? I looked first at Secret Weapon Miniatures, and the second one, and I think personally was a better choice of bases, was microartstudio.com. Again, not sponsored by them, but check them out if you're interested in that sort of thing. Ian bought the box of skulls from GW, and so did Orc Boys. Yeah, they're amazing. You get so many heads, so many skulls in there. Somebody who's a follower of the god of chaos, Khorne, and it's really good. Matt, Pink got the carnivorous plants. They are all soft and flexible, which is great for putting them around your models. Yeah, that's the other benefit. I mean, that's what you're paying a little bit more for. I think the GW ones are good for that. Sem King, I can't watch next week, but I will remind you when I can watch again. Well, the other thing is watch the video back, and I'll try and remember to just put a model in there. Pew pew. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Pew pew lasers. Right, where was I up to? So we've had a look at that. Let's have a look at the materials that are brilliant for making your own bases. So one that we've had for a while is from Vallejo. Now, you can buy texture paint from GW. You can buy sand and put it on your base and then paint it. Or you can buy this stuff, which is like a texture paint from Vallejo. Now, you put this on quite thick. It's got a little bit of texture in it, and you just kind of smash it all over the base, basically, and let it dry, and then do your dry brushing. It's really good for doing large areas of bases, especially for dioramas and bigger areas. But it's quite good. It's decent for filling gaps as well. If you've got a big gap between the stone and the base, if you put it on there, you can almost fill this between the two of them, and it's quite rigid and sturdy stuff. Even says diorama effects on the side. So that's Vallejo thick mud. You can still repaint this. So if you buy a white or a black or a red or whichever colour you buy of this, you can spray it with the rest of the base and then paint it up however you want. That stuff's great for thickening out bases. Now, two that I haven't tried yet. This is what I'll be using for the Caradron Overlord bases, and I've shown this before. One of them is this crackle effect. So I'm going to be doing a dried up swamp base area in areas. And I'm going to do the swamp green colour as well. So any sort of water effects and crackle paint are just perfect. Oh, I've got brown on my finger now from that thick mud. That wasn't even on the outside. Oh, it was on the outside. Now this stuff is brilliant for adding little bits of details. And when you mix multiple things on one base or on an army, it looks quite nice. So some of them will have bits of water effects. Some of them will have this dried, crackled earth effect. The rest of the bases will be made up of cork, and the other thing I've done the other day was... So I went on a walk the other day. Now these have been put in the oven because I know that there's going to be like mites and all sorts of things on it. So I dried these out first of all on the radiator. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to put in the oven as well. And matte varnished them just to cover any sort of bases. Now these are really sturdy, dried sticks. So I'm going to break these off as and when I need them. But I could almost put that on one base on the side. I could have it stood upright. And I've just got a load of different twigs. So you can just go outside and you know, see what's lying around that you can use. Clean it and then dry it out and then use it in your basing kit. So I've got a bunch of these sticks that will be enough for my army. I'm not going to use all of them. Bits of... I think that's bark. Bits of bark in there as well. And that's what I'll be using on the swamp bases. What else have we got? Oh, okay, so I bought a big box of stuff. Now, they still haven't sent me my tufts. I bought this from Antonicinio's workshop, or whatever it's called. Some decent prices. Oh, there you go. And Antonicis workshop. There you go. Now this is just a big tub of cork. So again, this is different to your flat cork, but I can use these as the bigger rocks, bigger bits of rubble. And there's all different sizes. This is laziness more than anything. I could have just got all of Rachel's wine cork and broken them down into little bits, but I've decided that this is already done. It's not, you know, they're all the right sort of sizes. If I was going to buy enough cork to break it down anyway, and not wait on Rachel to drink her way through supplying me with cork, it would cost the same amount as this box of cork did anyway. So I've got that. Cork is brilliant in all forms. If you can get it in cork tiles or sheets, or in these bouldery style things, then it's really good. Another thing for building up bases. Now I've got tons of different materials over the years that I just keep. So I've got slate. Now these are from the basing kits from GW, but you can buy slate and you can buy bits of stones, get different thicknesses, and you can build them up. So we've got these bigger rocks here. We've got these really small ones. These ones are the ones I like the most. It's bigger than pieces of sand. If I put the sand next to it. So I've got different types of sand as well. You've got this very thin, fine sand. You can get coarse sand, and you can get these I don't know what that's called, like almost looks like bird seed. I don't know what that is, but it's just thicker materials. So I've got a range of thin sand, thicker sandy type of materials, and then I go up to slate, and I've got slate in the different sizes there. So I like to mix these up. What I generally do is I put PVA glue onto a base, Then I get some of this slate and I literally just drop it onto the top of the base, and the rest of it falls into the pot. And then I dunk the rest of it into, say, the sand part and fill it. That way the base has got a mixture of slate and sand on there. And before that I would have hot glued some cork in at different angles as well. So there's a good variation on the base. You've got sand, you've got slate, and you've got cork. On top of that, you can get all sorts of stuff. Now this is like tiny little bits of bark, I think. It looks like it's really soft material. Just getting different textures and mixing it up on your bases can really make a huge difference on the final finish of your stuff. And these are all in little drawers, so I can literally just take these out and store them away when I'm done. Another thing, and I've shown you these, the smaller bricks that I bought on eBay. I can't remember the scale of these, but these are much better. And I also bought some bigger ones. So you can buy these sort of bricks and you can lay them and you can do bases like this. And you can get something like 500 to 1,000 of these and then just start laying your bases down, and you can have them at different angles, and you could mix it. You could mix it onto the sides of this sort of thing, like it's a ruined city with buildings that have fallen down, the floors which have all come up, the pipes which are coming out, and you can really just go to town and mix all of these up, like, you know, base. Job done. So bricks. You can never get too many bricks. I'm going to go through the chat a little bit. John Snater, I've lost count of the number of times I picked up sticks, dried bush and sand from the beach. Nature provides the best stuff for bases for sure. Definitely. So cheap as well. Tom Wilson, if you get the GW vines or plants and then use super glue, as it's a thinner, bendier plastic, and plastic glue just gobbles them up. Ah, okay, got you. That's a good tip. Ian Stanford, I might have to use the water gel on my NIDS bases. This was like £10, which I think it's going to go a fairly long way. And you know, it's not going to be too thick. It says on the side you can build it in layers between 1mm and 3 centimeters. So you can still get some thickness, but you have to build it up in layers. Nice though. And wait till I've tested it first before you go out and spend money on it. We'll see how it turns out first. Al Kirkham uses Vallejo Mud and it is great as well. So that's another one for the Vallejo Mud. It's good for mixing, transitioning between cork and sand and rock and filling gaps and blending them together. It's brilliant. And also if you're using the green stuff rollers, you can roll that out and make really long flat sheets, break it off and then put that on top of cork and make it look like a ruin, and you can blend all of that together using the texture. And I'll do a basing video on that in future because it's brilliant for that. John J is here. Welcome, John J. I'm glad you made it. And welcome to, I think you joined the Facebook community page recently as well. Thank you for that. That slate is hard to find locally, so buying online is the way to go. Yeah, if you're talking about the smaller stuff, I basically got it from the GW basing kit. I'm going to say basically quite a lot in this video. Now I've had this. I think this was 2 sets of it. 2 packs of basing kit, and I've used it for years. It doesn't really run out that quickly because when I use it, I just sprinkle a little bit onto each base and then fill the rest of it with sand. So it goes a long way, to be honest with you. I have nicked slate from the back garden, says Ian. Again, free to a point. Luca Bastianello saying bases are important, but I prefer using roller pins to create them. And again, we've got in here, this is the Celtic basing rolling pin from Games Workshop, from Green Stuff World. Now you can get these plastic bits to put on the outside, so when you're using it on the clay, you can roll it a bit easier. You make sure it's lubricated so that it doesn't stick to the clay, and you literally just roll out the design that you want. You let it dry, or you put it in the oven and bake it, and then once it's been dried, you can snap it off and you can build up some really nice bases. I need to get some oven clay. I don't want to use air dry clay. I want to try some proper oven stuff. And I'm going to recreate some bases. I'm going to do some stuff with those because the rolling pins are great. These are like between 9 and 11 euros. So at first it's like they're quite expensive, but they're not, because the amount you can make from this, it's an investment. You know, if you're going to do 100 bases, you've got your money back just from buying the rolling pin and some clay, and you can have some really unique looking bases. If you were to make a few masters and then cast them, it's going to probably cost you more than that anyway. You're better off just rolling out some clay, making these, and then just building a bunch. It's part of the hobby as well. Once you start making bases, you'll enjoy it. So What else we got? Do green stuff will do leaf punch. Here you go. Look, this it's like I've almost prepared for your answers. So Ian, these are the leaf punches. Now, these are like hole punches. They are hole punches for leaves. So I can't remember who it was, but on the Facebook page, somebody used envelopes, or envelopes, however you pronounce it, and they used brown envelopes, sprayed them with green or brown or whatever shade you want leaves to be, and then just literally put them in this hole punch and then punch them out. You've got a bunch of leaves. I did the difficult route. I went outside, I picked up leaves, I brought them back, I put them in the microwave for like 20 seconds. I did them 5 seconds at a time just to dry them out completely, and made sure they didn't set on fire. Be careful if you're putting stuff in the microwave. Don't follow anything I ever say. Then took them outside and varnished them with matte varnish so that they were properly sealed, because I didn't want bugs and I didn't want them to start falling apart. And then I used them on this hole puncher. So you can see there, they're actual leaves which have been just put through these hole punchers, and they're ready to go on my swamp bases. And you can see they've got some really nice looking shapes. And we've got two here. Green Stuff World do a bunch of different designs. So you can see that's the shapes of the leaves that they punch out. And I think I did mostly these. Can't remember which one I did. But you can do as many as you can be bothered to actually punch out. And you probably can just get normal leaves and punch them and then put them on your base and then seal them with PVA glue and they'll be absolutely fine. You don't need to microwave them. Okay, we'll look at the rest in a moment. Are you going to make a base in this stream? No, I'm only doing this for an hour. I wanted to go over briefly, an hour's worth of stream talking about the types of bases that you can do. I've done videos. Let me see if I can bring it up. Oh, wrong one. There we go. We've got a playlist. So if you go to our page, my channel, and then you go to playlists, and then on here there's a playlist somewhere, basing series. So on there's 16 videos. I didn't realise I did 16 videos just on bases, and in there's a bunch of different base stuff. Some of them are building, most of them are going to be painting the bases, but what I intend to do in future is some more where we're building bases using these materials. So using things like the rolling pins, making the bases, mixing it with the cork, using the Vallejo thick mud and doing that. But on this show, this weekly Saturday thing, it's just chatting. I don't do anything. I normally try and do some painting, but that normally equates to 2 hours painting one face. So I don't really do much stuff. Sam, so John J. Sam, do you have a recommended list of basing materials that a beginner might want to experiment with? Yeah, I mean, basic, you want slate, you want cork. Get a hot glue gun. They're really cheap. They're like £3, £4 or whatever. You can get a mini one and they're brilliant. So for putting cork onto bases, hot glue is the best thing you'll ever use. Don't use super glue. Don't use PVA glue. It just doesn't have as strong of a bond as hot glue does. Sand and different thicknesses of sand. So basically all the stuff I've just shown, which is the cork, the slate, the sand. And if you want to go a bit fancy, you can buy these little bricks and resin bricks and clay bricks. And after that, it's just bits you've got lying around. So sprue, even the leftover plastic sprue, you can cut down and make into little bricks. You can use arms and legs and body parts from bits of 40k or fantasy models that you're not using. And you can basically submerge them into the base and cover them with sand. And you can create some really unique looking bases without spending any money. After that, static grass. Now these, I love static grass. It's a quick way to add a little bit of character to a base. I don't know where these ones are from, probably Games Workshop. You can get hundreds of these from all over the internet, and they do tons of different thicknesses, colours. You can get flowers on them, but just quickly to add an extra bit of depth to a base, you can't really go wrong with static grass. And they're cheap enough. You buy a sheet or two and you can do a whole army very quickly with those. These are another thing that came in the basing kits. Now, I personally think Games Workshop are probably going to get, if they haven't already got rid of their basing kits and they've switched over to their new plastic ones, they probably should do. This is the etched brass that they used to sell, or maybe still sell. This is basically leaves that you can bend into shape and use on bases. The new plastic ones are superior, so I'm just showing this for the sake of it, but you've got some vines here. I'll use them on my Caradron bases. They're nice, but they weren't cheap, so I wouldn't recommend buying them. This stuff I haven't used it yet, but I picked it up because I thought it looked good. It's from a company called Mini Nature, without an E at the end. Now these are vines. Look how nice they look. Yeah. So I think I paid something like £4 or £5 for this. So it's not that cheap, but I'm hoping I can make it spread and make it go a fair enough way. But you can see it's quite tough stuff. And I'm just going to basically cut these off and put them across the bases all over, up some trees maybe, because when you see vines in nature, outdoors, you can see it going up trees. It will be sometimes scattered across the floor, over rocks. You can do all sorts. So this stuff I really want to try, but it's quite spongy. You can see when you stretch it out, it just springs back. Interesting stuff. I'm going to have to put that back in a box before it's all falling apart on my desk as well. Probably going to have to use some PVA glue on that. What does it say? Preferred adhesive. It doesn't tell you. Oh, it's okay. You're supposed to use scissors, cut it, use use tweezers to place it down, and that's it. Ivy Summer. To go with that, I mean, this is the other stuff I picked up for my bases. This is Jarvis Countryside Scenics. Now these are different colours of flock which I've picked up. And here are some leaves as well. So obviously you can punch out some of the normal leaves. I've bought some of these, which are basically just seeds from trees. So they've just gone outside, picked them up and put them in a bag and sold them to me for an expensive price. Just use a leaf cutter or go outside and pick them up yourself. But you can mix this sort of stuff up. So I've got the ones that I went outside and did. And I've got these slightly larger ones. I've also got the tufts. I've got 3 different colours of flock. So you can see there's some variation there. Mixing that up, having it all over the bases, it will give some variation. It'll look quite nice. So I would say that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't do too much in terms of advanced basing, but I like to do a little bit more each time I do a new project. This is another one. This is bark, dried bark that I picked up on eBay for like £2 for a bag of bark. And it's been dried out. I've had this for about 2 years now. And I'm probably going to use a few bits of this on the bases as well. So just build a collection of stuff you can use for scenery, and you really can't go wrong. You should see my desk right now. It's literally covered in basing materials. So I think as a base, I would recommend picking up some of this. This is the Vallejo stuff, so pick up some Vallejo acrylic texture paint. That's good for filling gaps. Pick up your cork, get your slate, get your sand, and then add as much as you want to after that. Recommend static grass, the tuft, and flock. You can get this stuff. Now this is like a spongier, I don't know what type that is, but you can see how it's quite soft and it falls apart very easily. Now this stuff is great for making flame effects, which I'm going to do another video of. I did it on my other channel as like a joke, and this stuff almost sets on fire when you mix it with super glue, but you can make some really nice flame effects just coming out of weapons. You can also use this on bases and just toughen it up with some PVA glue. But I personally think this is good for making trees and small bushes, but it is a lot messier, it goes everywhere. So I prefer using just normal good old flock and some static grass. Right. The Orc Boy is saying the Vallejo water effects is great. That's good, because I haven't tried it yet. I did try two of... No, I didn't. I tried another water, and it didn't really work too well. Skegatron, whoever knew Sam was such a base pest. I love bases. As I say, faces and bases are the 2 things you should concentrate, and that will upgrade your model massively just by doing those 2 things. So I think if you're going to focus on something, once you've got your base coats and your washers done in your model, the next thing that I would recommend doing is spending some time painting faces a little bit better. And I say better, just doing more to them, you know, mixing some red washers into the eyes, mixing some darker shades in so that it's got a bit more depth to it. Maybe even trying doing some facial hair or some stubble or some sort of colour to faces. Painting eyes. Most people avoid painting eyes. Before you start doing things like edge highlighting or non-metallic metals and doing all of those, start painting eyes and faces a little bit more. the next thing I would say is do your bases and look at ways that you can theme your army and make your army look really good from a distance. And also when you pick them up, you think, wow, that's got tons of detail. There's loads of texture, there's loads of colour, and it makes your models look brilliant. Sometimes you're looking at the bases more than the model, and that's the only concern. You know, when your bases look better than the model, you might need to do a little bit more of a balancing act. Luca is saying, I use the same roller pins. I have a bit of them. They're brilliant. I wish I had more of them, to be honest. I've only got the 2. Medic, you can get 6 rolling pins for €45. Great stuff and well worth it. Yep, there you go. Sean Jewett, hi Sam. Wow, these live videos have come a long way. Shows how long it's been. Impressed. I don't... There's not much going on, to be honest. But I'm glad you enjoy it. We've got a very simple border around the outside with all of our media that we really don't update as much as we should. Instagram's pretty much very non-existent. I need to do more pictures on Instagram because I'm always doing something. I just need to post it. Facebook, we're quite active on. YouTube, obviously, that's our main base. Twitter, we don't really know what goes off on Twitter. And Twitch, yeah, I was right. We're starting to do more of the live battle reports, and probably live painting will be on there so that we don't just clutter YouTube with our rubbish. But in terms of switching scenes and stuff, we've learned a little bit along the way, so I'm glad it's good, Sean. I'm glad you like it. Tabletop ready miniatures. Hey, looks like I made it just before the end. You did indeed. Although I've gone on for 5 minutes. I'm going to go through the chat though and see if there's any more stuff. But otherwise I need to sleep because, like I say, I need to go and shoot people tomorrow with Pink and Wilson. Kablams. I used textured styrene sheet for my AOS bases, added sand grit with super glue for some puddles. So Kablams has got this amazing machine, and he's got very brilliant talent at creating stuff with plastic card. And I've known him now for at least a year, and probably a year and a bit, just from coming on YouTube and watching his stuff. To be honest, I wasn't watching too much YouTube before, but Kablams has got some brilliant stuff on his channel to do with making plastic card kits, scenery, bases. It's well worth checking out the channel just for that. And the stuff he does with plastic card using this, I think it's called a plotter or something. I need to get one because making bases with that is going to be so much fun. But yeah, you do some amazing stuff with that, Kablams. John J, the old GW basing material boxes make great small wet palette containers for the mobile paint kit. Funnily you said that, John. My wet palette, how to make a wet palette video is literally from that. I've got 3 wet palettes because I use them and then leave them, and I've always got a spare one, and they're all made out of GW basing containers, and that's what I recommended in the tutorial. So I'm glad that somebody else has found how perfect they are for wet palettes as well. Where are we up to? Luca, always bad sort the flocks. Never appreciated it. Not sure on that. Medic, if you want to do puddles on your bases, AK puddles is amazing. That was there and I didn't pick it up. I picked up the swamp green instead because I figured I could use it in the same way but use it as swamp instead. What is the name of your second channel? I don't even advertise it. It's literally got like 100 subscribers or something. When I was first on YouTube, probably about 3 years ago, I just put rubbish up on there. There's like 4 videos of painting. It's horrible. I don't even tell people what it is. I might just delete all of the videos and just leave it there. But I did one video on there. I don't even want to say it because I'm embarrassed with it. I made a video just showing how to make these flame weapon effects. But I look back at it and it's so cringy. Like, we're not great at audio and video and editing and sound and all this sort of stuff. But I watched it back and was like, oh, that's horrendous. In one of them, I'm sitting there in my loving dressing gown. I'm sitting there in my dressing gown just like, do. Doesn't even matter. So bad. So bad. Redcust. I used dried out tea leaves, an old pack of parsley and some crushed cinnamon sticks to make a jungle base flock. Yeah, and it's perfect for that. How to make YouTube search for how to make 40k jungle ground terrain on one of my first YouTube vids. Do that. I did one on using, I think it was cinnamon cork again, or cinnamon bark, whatever it is, to make bases. I'm sure I did that on YouTube. But you can get some brilliant stuff. You know, old tea bags, let them dry out. Use the material, use the insides of a tea bag for basing material. That works brilliantly as well. As we're talking bases, I've just uploaded to the Facebook page my Renegade Knights Temple base. Redcuff Sam, post up some pics of you doing the pew pew tomorrow. Yes. Okay, Tom's saying +1 for the AK puddles, so maybe I need to pick that up. Let's have a look on Facebook. Because I did say I'll do it, and I always forget. Right, so we have 2 minutes ago. League route. As tonight's chat theme is bases, here is my knight's base. So here we go. Oh, that looks nice. What is that temple from? I know we're looking at bases, but I really like the armor on the knight. I like that you've like carved some bullet holes and some chinks, and there's like texture and what looks like cracked earth. That's brilliant. And I like how you've got tufts and little bits of colour. You've got some texture on there, so it's varied. Really nice. Is there more? Is there more? No, there's no more. I'm going to like it. Can I love it? I don't know how people do love. It's going to have to be a like. I did this show actually because Matt Edgeworth had been talking about bases. So I thought, you know what? We'll do a quick show on bases. Oh, Cliff. Managed to get platinum at my local GW's painting competition. Did such an amazing job on this. That looks absolutely superb. We'll have a quick go through that. Anyway, that's a great job. What's going on with my blooming computer? Stop going up. We've got Chris Skeggs, what I was on about Ark and the Black's base. A nice nod to where my geek began all those years ago. Ghostgate. I'm calling Ghostgate. That looks amazing, Chris. That's nice. Is that part of the model with the coins and things on there? I like the snow you've mixed in there. Again, you've got static grass, you've got snow, you've got texture, and you've got some form of crypt on there. It's nice, just mixing it up. It looks so much better than just sand on a base. And you know, it doesn't cost anything extra or very little extra from what we're paying for models just to add some sand and some snow and some static grass. But it looks so much better, and actually the paint job's a really good job on that as well, Chris. I like all of the ethereal stuff on those. My Tempestus Scion banner bearer is the Warhammer official pick of the day on Instagram. That's awesome. Steve's done some amazing Scion paint jobs recently. I like. Promise this won't turn into just going through my Facebook. Okay, I think that's everything. Apart from this. This was awesome. Look at that. Using a rhino. I don't know what it's going to be used as. Maybe the demigryphs or whatever they're called, or the knights. Asks for some feedback on, you know, what could be done to make it a little bit better. And check this out. Just adds a saddle. Just like, yeah, it needs a saddle. There we go, done it. Cracked that out straight away, and that looks fantastic. I haven't even liked it. Look at that. So really original. Looks brilliant. And, you know, with a little bit of work on it, it looks even better. That's nice as well. Don't like Zinch. Patrick knows I don't like Zinch. Because they violated me. Okay. Right. Let's go through the chat, see what else there is. John Snater, cheers Sam, the temple is aquarium ornaments broken up. Oh, that's perfect. Brilliant idea. Sem King, thanks for the streams, dude. See you later. Tyler Miller, I have a feeling I'll do a zillion bases for my boys and then GW will start selling them on 32mm. That is the only problem. Maybe just go ahead with 32mm yourself beforehand. Pink, I will never forget Ghostgate, ever. That's one that will stay forever. Orkboy says, thanks, no problem. Skegatron, the coins and skull was built in and the crypt is from Hero Quest. Ah, there we go. I didn't know where it was from because it looks so familiar to the Garden of Moor set. Frank Storm, have a crashed drone for my Tau commander. Yeah. Crashed drones. You know, what else could you have? Dead Tau on the bases. Maybe too much. Skegatron, sorry not built in. I built them in and added. Thought being the tithe? It's tithe. Being paid for the dead. That's really good. That's a really good idea. Pink, show us on this. Pink. Ian Stanford sent you a pic of one of Bloodthirster models on Messenger. If it's on Messenger and not on the page, I don't think it will show up. Oh, okay, maybe I can get it. Maybe we can get it. Oh. Oh, it won't pop up. I can't get it to pop up. That's a blooming shame. And Redcuffs has posted the 40k bases jungle ground terrain YouTube video as well. Okay. I sent them as a PM on Facebook. Never mind. Thanks for the live show. Where is this? Where? I don't understand where. I hate Facebook sometimes. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. If you join the Facebook Wargamer Online community Facebook group, post it in there, and then that's where I'll go if anywhere. Right, so that is pretty much the stream. So we've done a lot of talking about bases, to be honest. I am aware that that was quite a long one, so I'm sorry if I bored any of you, if not all of you. I do appreciate that loads of you have turned up again this Saturday. It's been really nice to just jump on and talk nonsense for a little bit. Tomorrow I will be shooting people. Monday, Phil isn't doing a Monday Musing because he's got a lot on at work at the moment. So I apologise in advance. There's going to be a video from me. It's going to be an unboxing, but it's a look through some of the new Frostgrave stuff. It's not out until June. So if anybody's into Frostgrave, they sent us some of the products early, maybe giving them away as part of the 10k subscriber giveaway. So somebody may get their hands on that before it's even released, maybe. But there's some good stuff in there. So that's what's happening on Monday. Tuesday will probably be nothing on YouTube. But Wednesday, it will either be a battle report on Twitch or it will be my Chronicles update. So we'll have a look on the website. Everybody who's involved on the forums will go through your threads and we'll just do a live show. Or it could be both of those. So depending on what's going on during the week, it could be both. And then there is definitely a tutorial next week as well, which is going to be going up on YouTube. For anybody who's a premium subscriber, they will have seen it. But for anybody who collects Chaos or does Black Legion, to be specific, that will be going up on YouTube next week. Maybe next week. It might even be Monday. I don't even know what's going on anymore. Thanks everybody for joining me. And I'm going to go off and get some sleep. I need to find the credits. There we go. All right. Have a fantastic weekend and a good start to the week, and I'll see you later on. Bye.